2018 Peugeot 3008 SUV Review. The good points of Peugeot 3008 SUV. Sharp, striking exterior styling. Slick, distinctive decor. Punchy 1.2-litre petrol and 1.6 diesel. Large, usable boot space. More luxurious than old 3008. The bad points of Peugeot 3008 SUV. Below par automatic gearboxes. Suspension might be smoother. Range-topping engines underwhelming. Diesel versions a bit noisy. The first Peugeot 3008 became a mismatch from a people carrier plus an SUV, with questionable styling but a spacious, family-friendly interior. The new model is more definite. This can be a 4x4 wannabe with bold looks, raised ride height and a lot of ground clearance. Don't feel that this is an actual off-roader, though. Four-wheel drive is just not available, even though traction maximizing grip control, something that adapts for the type of surface you're driving on, can assist in some circumstances. This is the car designed quite definitely for tarmac. Peugeot even goes as much as describing the 3008 as sporty. The 3008 faces a lot of established rivals claiming to offer the same recipe of an high driving position, practical interior and affordable running costs. Leading the charge would be the Nissan Qashqai, containing sat high up the UK bestsellers list for countless years, with all the boldly styled gear sportage and Pricer VW Tiggan gunning for the similar customers. Other competition can be purchased in the form with the just-launched Citadica, together with sleek and affordable Renault Kadjar along with the fun-to-drive Mazda CX-5. Where the 3008 bests all rivals, however, is its ultra-sharp styling and super simple interior, which features a shrunken tire, with digital dials above along with a driver-canted center console full of large touchscreen infotainment system. Eye-catching inside and outside. It's this original style that will persuade buyers to go to their nearest Peugeot dealership. The 3008 happens to be an attention-grabbing machine within the flesh. Managing combine a high stance with boxy but dramatic lines, the 3008 makes almost every other compact SUVs look bland and old-fashioned. The interior only adds to your feel-good factor, with plush materials like fabric and wood fabrics used through the seats as well as the dashboard, along with a stronger sense of quality. This is important, with the starting price only sneaks below the £22,000 mark, with top-spec models rising above £30,000. Comprehensive engine and trim choice. Engines range between a 130 horsepower turbocharged 1.2-litre and 100 horsepower 1.6-litre diesel, the previous available in manual and automatic form, to your 165 horsepower 1.6-litre petrol along with a 180 horsepower diesel, both only sold with the automatic gearbox. There's fashionable 1.6-litre diesel with 120 horsepower sitting from the middle of the stove. Emissions coming from all versions, bar the best petrol with mud and snow tires, stand below 130 grams/km. Specification levels consist of active to range-topping GT. Basic active trim will probably account for simply a handful of sales, with well-equipped Allure adding sat-nav and sharper styling. GT line models achieve sportier look while top-spec GT models, only available together with the 180 horsepower diesel engine, include Mercedes aping Blackwood dashboard trim. GT line and GT versions will also be specified using a two-tone black and grey coupe French finish, in which the front two-thirds on the car is but one color, using the rear third being black. Unlike many SUVs, it's the most cost-effective models that produce the most sense with decent performance and low running costs, because automatic gearbox that's standard on one of the most potent petrol and diesel engines is frustratingly dim-witted and negates the benefit from the more powerful engines. The verdict. The Peugeot 3008 SUV is something of any revelation in comparison with its predecessor. Peugeot has were able to create a desirable and striking family car that won't only look great about the driveway, nevertheless it has space for your family, drives well and won't cost a bomb to perform. Its party piece is the fact stunning interior though. Just stick to some more modest model so you won't be disappointed. Plenty of engine choice inside 3008. Automatic gearboxes inside the most powerful. Lower powered engines the very best. 6 engines are available from the 3008 with 100 horsepower to 180 horsepower. Fastest can be a 180 horsepower diesel and 165 horsepower petrol, which go on a reasonably sprightly 8.9 seconds to accelerate to 62 miles per hour, while with the other end on the spectrum a 100 horsepower diesel uses a lengthy 13.1 seconds to amble to your benchmark speed. Why should I opt for a 3008 petrol? If you'll need a petrol 3008, you've got a range of 2. First up can be a 1.2-litre 3-cylinder unit named Peugeot 130. As the name suggests, it includes 130 horsepower and is really a great fit within the 3008, having a useful 230 Nm of torque available. The engine is smooth and powerful and feels well suited to your car. It'll complete the benchmark 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint in 10.8 seconds, which is capable of reaching a 117 miles per hour top speed. It makes by far the most sense to prospects on a budget or those that have more to shell out, so long as you steer clear with the power-sapping automatic gearbox that's provided by this engine. If you would like more power coming from a petrol engine, there's the ETHP 165. It's a single 6-litre turbo petrol pushing out 165 horsepower and 240 Nm of torque. It'll sprint from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8.9 seconds. Nonetheless, it's only available through an ET6 automatic gearbox. It can allow it to feel more lethargic about the move and, for that reason, it doesn't think that much quicker versus the Peugeot 130. However, it'll reach higher top speed of 128 miles per hour. Why should I go with a 3008 diesel? Kicking over diesel lineup is usually a 1.6-litre Blue Eddy unit, only obtainable in entry-level active trim. It offers up 100 horsepower and 254 Nm of torque, but it really is the slowest in the bunch. You'll need patience since it takes 13.1 seconds to get at 62 miles per hour from the standstill, and can top out at 108 miles per hour. Next up is really a 120 horsepower version from the same unit. It feels far more flexible due to 300 Nm of torque. It helps to make the 3008 feel much nippier and even more at home for the motorway, too. The 0 to 62 miles per hour time drops 1.2 seconds, while top speed increases to 117 miles per hour. This engine is available having a choice of 6-speed manual or 6-speed automatic gearboxes. Stick while using manual though, it's much slicker and nicer to drive as opposed to indecisive auto. Providing another start power is really a 2.0-litre Blue Eddy 150 with 150 horsepower and 370 Nm of torque. The 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint time drops again, as a result of 9.6 seconds, and it'll stand up to 129 miles per hour. At the top from the tree can be a 180 horsepower Blue Eddy diesel available exclusively having an automatic gearbox. While it has ample power on paper, the simple truth is the automatic gearbox saps power and causes it to feel much slower than you'd expect, as it does inside ETHP 165 petrol. A chunky 400 Nm torque figure provides a good amount of punch, but you'll need patience since the gearbox decides how to handle it if you put your foot down. It makes its 0 to 62 miles per hour period of 8.9 seconds feel more stressful than you'd expect, too. The way the 3008 handles varies between models. Lighter engines feel most sprightly. Automatic gearboxes limit fun factor. As with performance, this can be a tale of two halves. The 130 horsepower PureTech petrol model feels light and nimble around corners, with all the 120 horsepower diesel only a step behind. The much heavier 180 horsepower diesel feels unwieldy and high in comparison, though most drivers won't want for further grip with any 3008. The 165 horsepower petrol may weigh similar to 120 horsepower diesel. Even so, the automatic gearbox diminishes its driving experience, making for jerky progress around corners, whether you allow the gearbox to its own devices or take manual control while using paddles attached to the controls. As a result, it's the less satisfying machine they are driving. The feel from the steering varies by model, too, though all include a tiny leader, and that is flattened around the top and bottom. While this may mimic a Formula 1 wheel, it's incongruous within a road car, as unlike about the track the place that the wheel barely turns between full everywhere you look. In the 3008 the irregular shape makes corners an annoying affair. It is more difficult to adjust your grip when turning while you don't know precisely which bit from the wheel you'll get. The lighter models supply a reasonably good ascent control over the wheel, although the steering felt somewhat less intuitive from the more powerful models. Despite the small wheel, furthermore, it feels like you must turn this greater than expected to make bends, making the squashed shape on the wheel more irritating. A sport mode for your steering can also be available, and although this adds weight, it could possibly feel artificial, providing you less a feeling of connection together with the front tires, especially with all the heavier engines fitted. All cars are simple to maneuver out partying, however. Interior could be the 3008 showstopper. Striking design and plush materials won't suit all driving positions, though. Peugeot is just not a brand famed for offering tactile, high-quality interiors rolling around in its cars of old. Nevertheless, the 3008 is really a big step above older models, with unusual wood and fabric trims on offer as well as a striking overall interior layout. While you won't mistake the cabin for any Volkswagen, it can feel well built, so you can spot design cues paying homage to current Jaguar, Audi and Mercedes models. As a result, the 3008 supplies a strong feel-good factor with the price. The small controls, with instruments viewed over it, could be an acquired taste. Even so, the cabin mostly is effective. The virtual cockpit-style digital dials can show many different combinations of information, from traditional analog gauges with a pared-down setting which shows an electronic speedometer rather than much else. What will be the Peugeot 3008's virtual cockpit? Sat-nav instructions may also be overlaid on these, though we found it irritating that directions completely obscured the rev counter within the conventional display. An important dial within a car through an engine is quiet because the 130 horsepower petrol. With mode selected having a roller activate the leader, it's quite simple to jump derived from one of mode to another within the move. The touchscreen media system, meanwhile, is leagues more usable compared to system in other Peugeots, such because the 308 hatchback, which includes an unresponsive screen and frustratingly convoluted controls. The screen is additionally quite large compared to many similarly priced cars, such because the Renault Kadjar. There are certainly few physical controls over the cabin, bar a distinctive line of 7 identically sized silver switches and 6 buttons below these. Despite the slick kind of these, simple fact they all check out same and also have small logos in it makes them unnecessarily tough to differentiate when driving. Comfort levels won't disappoint. Some designs include stiffer seats as opposed to others. Suspension assimilates majority of bumps. Style plays a big part from the 3008's interior with black, textured, aged oak trim on GT models and fabric dashboard detailing on some allure cars. This style does feature a cost, though. The fabric seats having a ridge continuing to fall the center in allure cars may look really good, however, these aren't probably the most comfortable, together with the ridged fabric digging into front passengers' back somewhat. The suspension is also a bit more yielding on rough, bumpy roads too. While your vehicle shrugs off undulations adequately, bad bumps and ruts inside road they make themselves felt a lot more than many drivers might expect coming from a car with off-road pretensions. Space levels are wonderful, however. Avoid the glass roof, and passengers both in rows should have a lot of head and leg room, with all the flat rear floor leaving a lot of footroom for three to sit down alongside one another. The high floor in comparison with all the seat base entails that taller people may suffer like they're landing on a small child's chair, making use of their legs slightly way too high compared while using rest of their body. Specify the glass roof and headroom is slightly on the tight side for taller passengers. Nonetheless, it does give a nice volume of light into the cabin, especially on models with dark roof lining. Engine refinement can be a bit of a mixed bag. The 130 horsepower petrol motor can be quite smooth and quiet, emitting an eager thrum when worked hard. Both 120 horsepower and 180 horsepower diesels don't hide their collection of fuel, especially the automatic-only 180 horsepower unit, however, are adequately hushed with the class. The 165 horsepower petrol tested, meanwhile, was slightly more coarse than expected, especially considering how muted small petrol engine is. Opt to get a model with wide tires and a great deal of road and tire noise is audible, though narrower-tired models are a lot easier quieter. Wind noise, for the other hand, isn't really audible. Lots of normal equipment. High-spec models won't create wanting. Mid-range models represent the most effective value. You're unlikely to get disappointed with the kit, trust even entry-level 3008 models. It comes which has a generous level of standard equipment, as well as an abundance of desirable optional extras. Standard Peugeot 3008 SUV equipment. All 3008s have a big raft of safety kit with an 8.0-inch touchscreen media system and 12.3-inch configurable digital dials. Peugeot says most of buyers choose pricier but better equipped models. Safety technology available around the 3008 includes automatic emergency braking, activated in the event the car senses a hazard ahead the driver hasn't answered, and adaptive cruise control, which keeps a safe distance behind the automobile in front, regardless of whether it slows or accelerates, and also a speed limiter function. Peugeot 3008 active standard equipment. Entry-level active models feature a generous level of kit, including 17-inch alloy wheels, DAB radio, mirror screen, enables MirrorLink, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, automatic lights and wipers, lane departure warning, autonomous emergency braking, dual zone climate control, rear parking sensors. Peugeot 3008 Allure standard equipment. Jump around mid-range Allure for a far more comprehensive kit list, composed of 18-inch alloy wheels, black and chrome exterior trim, sat-nav with 3D maps and voice control, active blind spot detection, active lane keeping assistance and advanced driver attention alert, tinted rear windows, front and rear parking sensors plus reversing camera, power folding door mirrors with blind spot detection, attractive fabric interior trim over the dash and doors. Peugeot 3008 GT line standard equipment. GT line models include some exterior styling features for a much more eye-catching look. Black door mirrors, checkered radiator grille, black roof, chrome exterior trim, full LED headlamps with scrolling indicators, wireless phone charging, black headlining, leather and fabric sports seats with contrast stitching on seats and leader. Peugeot 3008 GT standard equipment. GT models ramp up the kit count, adding the subsequent over GT line trim. 19-inch alloy wheels, aluminium roof bars, panoramic sunroof, chrome door mirrors, keyless entry and ignition, electric tailgate, grey oak interior dash trim, full leather upholstery with electric adjustment and massage function for your driver's seat, front seat heating and adjustable seat base extensions. Optional Peugeot 3008 SUV accessories. If the common kit isn't enough, you may venture to the options list. Here, you'll locate a 10-speaker 515-watt focal audio system, a 360-degree Visual Park system that helps you see everywhere over the vehicle when parking, and grip control, such as 18-inch alloy wheels with mud and snow tires and 5 different modes for optimum traction in tricky driving conditions. This system optimizes the automobile for driving in normal, snow, mud and sand conditions, which has a final setting turning the steadiness control system off altogether. It also includes hill assist descent control, which helps the vehicle to tackle steep downward stretches safely. Lots of ordinary safety kit about the 3008. Various driver assistance systems. 5-star Euro NCAP score. The 3008 scored a maximum rating of 5 stars when crash tested by Euro NCAP in 2016. The car scored just as well for adults inside front seats and children within the back. Pedestrian and automatic safety equipment didn't quite match the most effective performing cars in the time, though a raft of kit can be acquired including from Lane Keep Help automatic emergency braking. Most models feature a different Safety Plus pack which warns drivers to vehicles inside their blind spots, keeps the car to use lane on multi-lane roads, driver attention assist, which gauges whether or not the driver is remaining alert, plus high beam assistance, which prevents drivers from dazzling oncoming traffic by switching between main and dipped beam automatically. Optional grip control, which include mud and snow tires, offers greater safety for winter driving and coping with muddy or cold and wet terrain. This traction control system enables you to maximize the grip the auto has, with some other settings ensuring the maximum chance of keeping moving within the respective terrain. Plenty of passenger space. Boot is one in the biggest rolling around in its class. Neat practicality touches, too. Bypass the actual top rim stealing glass roof as well as the 3008 is usually a practical family car. The front armrest is mammoth, practically swallowing the motorist or front passenger's entire arms whenever they need to salvage anything from the underside. The armrest storage is accessed with 2 horizontally split parts, which open more easily about the move than the usual one-part lid hinged on the back. There are 2 cup holders positioned in the front of this, plus usefully sized door bins. The glove box is about the small side, however. The boot is extremely large, meanwhile, with 520 or 591 liters of space available depending about the position from the boot floor, expanding to a single 580 liters in case you drop the back seats, much larger compared to Nissan Qashqai. The flat rear floor makes video viable 5-seater, with space for the adult middle rear passenger. The front passenger seat is usually folded flat, meaning you are able to load items of as much as 3 meters long, even though the boot boasts an adjustable floor with removable side panels for really practicality. The size from the 3008 is average with the crossover class. It's larger as opposed to Nissan Qashqai, nevertheless it's over a par with all the likes in the Seat Etica, VW Tiggan and Kia Sportage. Will the Peugeot 3008 SUV integrate my garage? It doesn't feel too big to manage about the road, though, so when it comes to parking in a very tight spot, lots of assistance systems including parking sensors and cameras help to offer a clearer picture of what's occurring around you. Will my luggage fit inside the Peugeot 3008 SUV? The 3008 offers up one on the largest boots in their class. With the spine seats in place and also the adjustable boot floor to use lowest position, a tremendous 591 liters of space can be obtained. Position the floor a bit higher up in line together with the boot sill, and it's still an outstanding 520 liters. That's more compared to 510 liters offered with the Seat Etica. It's very easy to tumble the seats down, increasing capacity to at least 1,670 liters. From October 2017, GT line and GT spec models will consist of a boot floor. This slides out by 30 cm to help loading heavier items. 2.